The intention was not to start a charity, it was like to help one person. It's not just a haircut, it's a conversation, it's an opportunity for people to be listened to, for someone to be told that they look great, or it's a big deal. He was going for a job interview the next day and he was getting a haircut to go for that job interview. And we found out that he got the job, and that was the first ever haircut. You know, I never went out there to be a founder, and that was not part of it. Like, I learned all that after. For me, it's all about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. 5 years ago, we were all sitting around in a boardroom and the treasurer was like, "We're fucked. We don't have enough money to pay our insurance." But it's all about looking back, I think, and going like, look how far you've kind of come, and you're going to hear no like 1,000 times more than you're going to hear yes, but use the energy of the yeses to then go to the next yes.
Welcome everyone to the Reconnect to Self podcast, the show that helps you ultimately rediscover what brings you joy. As always, I'm a host. My name is Scott. I'm also a filmmaker, and I am here with my wife Tracy, who is a counsellor of 20 years, a qualified breathwork instructor, and a certified psychedelic assisted therapist. Hello, babe.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Good. Feeling refreshed after our little
getaway.
Little getaway for a couple of days. So self-care tip number one.
And relationship tip.
And relationship tip. Find time away from the kids.
Yes.
It was good. Yes. Excited about today's guest. As always, we always have good guests. This is, I'm just going to read the intro.
Yeah,
how's about that? All right. Today's guest I have had the privilege of knowing for a few years now. I first met Craig when I was hired to interview him about his charity work, and we just hit it off. I later realised that Craig hits it off with everyone, and he just has that special ability to make you feel special. He is the founder of the Back Sidewalks charity that provides free haircuts to people experiencing homelessness and hardship. Craig was named West Australia's local hero at the Australian of the Year Awards, and he's received tons more accolades other than that one, for all of his service to community. And what I love most about his story, which we're going to kick off with, is he didn't wait for anything to be perfect or have some grand plan. He organised a free haircut in a car park, which I think was Northbridge, but we'll get confirmation of that. And then he just went from there, and he proves that anyone can make a difference. You just have to put some energy behind it. So welcome to the show, Craig Hollywood.
Thank you very much for having us. I'm feeling the love. It's
you do have that about you, though.
And what a name, Craig Hollywood.
Yeah.
Like, that's even that.
And it's Valentine's Day as well.
Yeah, that's true. We are recording this on Valentine's Day. What a romantic little get together. But yeah, you have something about you that makes anyone who engages with you feel special, and I think that's quite a unique ability. Not everyone has that. So,
well, we were chatting in our kitchen for about 10 minutes before we sat down because we couldn't stop talking. So that was a nice beginning.
And what you've done is miraculous. And I think, we'll get into everything that it does, but I think the best place to start is that you're just a normal guy. Obviously, people pick up your accent. You came over from Scotland at some point. I'm not sure how old you were, but you can say that. But just a normal guy who sort of thought, I want to give this a crack. I want to help people. And you just went from like the smallest little thing and then built it up. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how that all kind of happened?
After losing a family member was the catalyst for Back Sidewalks, and it was a family member who quite often felt disconnected, and that's what he used to kind of say, and I always kind of wanted to do social work or psychology or something like that. I got a little bit too far into my career.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
In the engineering sector.
Yep.
And then decided what I'm going to do is, instead of actually going into that sort of profession at 35 or 34, I'm just going to start something myself. And I'll always remember my uncle saying I feel disconnected, and then I was having a haircut fairly recently after that, and said to the hairdresser, and I told him the story about the reason why I wanted to do this and about my uncle, and he immediately sort of responded with, look, the same thing happened to my dad, and he said, look, I'll be there with you, and let's do it. And yeah, so looking back in hindsight, it's one of those things that you sit there and you go, you didn't have a plan and you didn't know what was going to happen, but the reason why this really resonated so much was because that service, a free haircut for someone experiencing homelessness or poverty, it didn't exist. We didn't know that.
What gave you the idea, like in the first place, about? Because I just assumed you were a barber.
No.
No, that's the crazy thing. So you're an engineer.
Yeah, so I work for a global consultancy called AECOM, which do various different things. I mean, I work in the defence sector.
Are they the ones? Do they sponsor Man United? Is that the same team?
No, I don't think so. But we do a lot of like sort of designs of like stadiums and things like that. And a big one that we recently did in LA, and we've won the delivery partner for the Brisbane 32 Olympics and whatever. So it's a big company, do a lot of big work. Definitely not a hairdresser. Last person that you want to be going anywhere near you with a pair of scissors.
I thought your hair looked good today. I thought,
thank you.
Yeah, actually, I know this is going to sound flippant, but every time I see you, you have a fresh haircut. So how often do you get your haircut?
It's got contacts now.
That's the thing, right? And I still pay for them. You feel good after a haircut, and that was the catalyst for it all, was that hairdressers and barbers, I always say, are the accidental counsellors of society.
Yeah.
And I think we all have those relationships without actually realising that we do. And every time I speak to someone, they'll be like, I've known my hairdresser or barber for like 20 years.
Yeah, and they follow them around.
Yeah. And it's a really intimate service as well, because, I guess from a psychological perspective, and you would know more about it than I would, but I know that touch, especially when it's not someone who's it's a romantic setting.
Yeah, I've never thought about that.
Me neither, but that's so true. Because when people they're not in a relationship, or they're not really connected to their family, they're not getting touched at all. And touch is really important. In fact, when babies aren't touched, when they're in orphanages and things, when they're very little, they really struggle. They need the cuddles, they need the connection. So I don't think that's any different as an adult.
And that's the thing. A lot of the services that happen for people experiencing poverty or homelessness they're quite brief.
Yeah.
So whether it's an exchange of food or an exchange of, it sometimes is quite transactional.
Yeah.
Whereas sitting down for 40 minutes or an hour to have a haircut is, it's kind of, it's a long service, and it goes for a while, and it's always that moment of where it's not just a haircut, it's a conversation, it's an opportunity for people to be listened to.
They'd feel important. If you're sitting there with someone for half an hour, 40 minutes, they would actually feel important. They would feel like they're the centre of your world for that time.
And that's a compliment goes a long way as well. It doesn't cost anything, and for someone to be told that they look great, or it's a big deal. So that was it, and very early on, that's what happened with Short Back and Sidewalks. And I remember this. As I was saying to you, I remember I used to do a volunteer at a radio station, RTR, and I used to present a radio show which was fundamentally around techno and house and whatever.
Amazing.
And
Scott Sally.
and I remember, like, it was 2 days after the first service of Short Back and Sidewalks, and I guess just to go back a minute, the thing which made it extra special, and I'm not like a spiritual person, or I don't think that I am, but this could be for you.
Yeah.
So the first person who ever got a haircut with Short Back and Sidewalks was like this guy who was sitting, I guess, on the pavement, and he's not someone that I would have previously assumed to be someone who presented like they were experiencing homelessness, right? He had a couple of Meyer shopping bags, and I guess for all I knew, he was probably, taking a load, taking 5 minutes out from his shopping or something. But anyway, I guess had to like gather the courage to walk over and say, "Oh, are you here for the haircuts?" And he basically started telling his story, and he had had previously had like a successful business and like a fleet car company, and had fallen on hard times and was now sleeping in a tent outside the back of Wanneroo, and because he wasn't going to sleep on the street, because he wasn't like someone that had been used to that. He was like, I really like camping.
Yeah.
And the spiritual component of it was the fact that he looked a little bit like my uncle, and that was the very, very first.
Oh, wow.
And he told us that he was going for a job interview the next day, and he was getting a haircut to go for that job interview. And we found out that he got the job,
brilliant.
Awesome.
and that was like the moment where it was just like, that was the first ever haircut.
Yeah.
And now it's positively impacted the lives of over 30,000 people across Australia. So,
Well, take us back to the beginning. We obviously know your uncle was sort of what prompted the idea, but how did the idea even come up?
Sitting in the chair having a haircut.
So you just thought, this is what everyone needs.
Yeah. And
this would be helpful, or?
And look at my barber, Alex, who I've known for 15 years, saw him yesterday.
It's the fresh hair.
Yeah. And I think
Was he the one that I met?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah.
So kind of together you to the thought of this? Or?
Well, no, I mean, I went in there with the idea and kind of sat down with the barber shop and kind of said, look, I want to do this. Have you got 2 hours of your time? And they were the first people that I went to, because that was my barber. So,
yeah.
So
you got him on board?
Yeah, and they very quickly, just dropped everything and said, like, we'll go and do it. And I think, like, without that, and I always talk about the fire of empathy, and the fire of empathy is something that was inside me from my uncle, and then I guess the fire of empathy was inside these other people, and then that's how it's kind of grown.
Do you know what that just reminded me of? I think that when we have something happen to us personally, we get invested, and then because of that, we're willing to help other people with that same situation. Like if someone, for example, never had any contact with someone with cancer, and all of a sudden their sister has got cancer, all of a sudden their energy and their passion and stuff, they want to help more and more people. So I think that's so beautiful that connection through your uncle made you have that drive.
And that's what I found for a long time, is trauma is something that a lot of people experience, and lots of people deal with it in different ways. And thank you for mentioning the Australian of the Year award win, which was, it was very unexpected, and it was there's been a few stories about that in regards to of just how much I thought someone was playing a joke when they called us.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, like I've played a lot of jokes in my life. And
you thought it was karma coming back at you?
Yeah, so I was like, someone's got their mum to call me. Anyway, but yeah, like the point is that having that experience and being around, I remember just standing there thinking about it, because it was like the 33 Australians of the Year that year in 2022, and we were in Canberra.
Oh, they fly you over for it?
Yeah, it was a big deal, like, but all of those people, like literally every single one of them that I met had done it through trauma.
Yeah.
There was not one person there that had just, it was like, there was like Lloyd and Sue, who from Small Steps for Hannah, like they'd, their daughter had been murdered, and their 3 grandchildren, and they'd started a charity which, assists women with lived experience of domestic violence and coercive control, and, there was Grace Tame, there was, it all was kind of built around some sort of form of trauma, and
they take the energy and they put it into that cause.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not saying that that's what everyone should do, because everyone's different and everyone handles things different ways, but I think that drive and that focus and that unrelenting, I'm going to bang my head against that brick wall until it breaks sort of thing, like that's kind of where it comes from. I
think as well it makes people feel like it's not a waste, like you can do something with that pain.
Yeah.
Like I always think of that Daniel Morecambe that, that went missing, and their parents have that red ribbon, or what is it, red T-shirt day? They do some sort of charity in schools about, safety and things. And I just think that's become their whole life. and that's putting that energy, for him into something so purposeful. So I think that's a beautiful way of turning that trauma into purpose.
Absolutely. And, and I guess the way you look at it, these traumatic episodes can fundamentally turn into something that actually brings positivity into life, and helps thousands of people as a result of it. It's a weird one. Maybe for another podcast, I don't know, but I think
you're right. I think otherwise it's meaningless.
Yeah.
You're going through all of this suffering for what? I think people want to flip it round and
transmute that pain.
Yeah. And that's what would give them purpose.
Yeah. So when you first had that idea and you pitched it to the barbershop and everything, they were keen. How did you get the word out? Like, what did you do from there?
Yeah, good question.
Look, I think I just messaged someone on Facebook who I'd seen doing some cool stuff, and they helped us. And I think I've always thought about it from that perspective of I think Perth's a bit like that. People will help you. If you've got an idea, someone will be like, "Oh no, I know someone that will help."
They really do. When Scott was making his film, I think it was like that. Oh, I've got a person that you can borrow a car from, or I can.
Oh yeah. I needed a very specific 1950s car, and I just put it on Facebook, and then my cousin said, "Oh, my mate down in Rockingham has it," and this guy drove it all the way up from Rockingham to Joondalup. Yeah. Didn't pay him anything. He just did it because he was a nice guy and wanted to help. Yeah, it was interesting.
Watched this really awesome documentary, which is a while ago, and it was called There's Something in the Water, and it was a documentary about Perth musicians and all the big successful bands that have come from WA, and and it was why on earth has so many really successful artists come from such a tiny little place.
Yeah.
Oh.
And a lot of them kind of said, "Oh yeah, it's because I'll play drums for his band, or I'll play drums for, or guitar for her band," and they all just kind of got around each other. Yeah. And I remember, I'll never forget, someone was saying they were like, I was in Perth and I saw the lead singer of Tame Impala playing drums in some shitty band at the Bird on a Tuesday night, and it was just random, and it was but it was his mate needed a drummer or something. So it was traveling the world and winning Grammys and stuff, and then Tuesday night 7 p.m. at the Bird, you're
helping your friend out.
And I think
the skimpies behind the bar.
but that's the thing, and I think that was, to answer your question, I think that's what really helped. And I always remember this story, which was hilarious. And again, it was through that connection piece and whatever else. I got to radio, and a mate texted me, and I was just about to go on air, and he was like, "I don't believe this is happening, but there's this really amazing ABC journalist called James Carlton who wants to chat to you." And he's like, "And I know that you've got no idea who he is." And he's like, "And he's my hero of journalism, and he's on Twitter, and he's asking for your number to phone you to talk about Short Back and Sidewalks." And he's like, "I can't believe I'm about to hand over James Carlton's mobile number."
And he's giving it to you.
And he was raging. And I remember,
don't you mess this up?
I know, and I remember calling James Carlton, and he's such a great journalist on ABC Radio National and ABC in general, and he's like, "Hello, James Carlton." And I was like, "Whoa!" He's
got the good voice.
And he's got a great voice. And he goes "I'd love to be able to feature you on ABC Radio National." And I was like, "Yeah, no worries." And to be honest, at the time, I didn't even know what that was. I was just like, "Yeah,
sounds
right.
good."
Yeah. And then the next thing was it was it just went bang. It was just, and I was just like, "Wow, this is," and a few of my mates contacted me, and they were like, "All right, this is going to get a lot of eyeballs, and this is going to help a lot of people." And I know you didn't actually, and that wasn't, the intention was not to start a charity. It was to help one person.
Well, that's one of the questions. Well, I've got so many questions running through my head, but I think the first one would be, because I remember you telling me you were very nervous that nobody was going to turn up.
Yeah.
Take us back to that first day. So you'd put the word out through social media?
It was actually, the word went out through the service providers of Perth. So we knew that was going to be the network of being able to connect with people. So, put word out to St. Bart's, Rua, Salvation Army. Mm-hmm. And they were able to say, "Look, 2:00 on Saturday, the 10th of March or whatever. I think that was the date actually, because I'll never forget the date.
It's true. It's in there.
Yeah.
And was it Northbridge?
And yeah, it was in the Wilson car park in Northbridge, just behind where Kakula's Brothers is, like the place where all the amazing spices and smells and stuff. Look, I don't know whether or not it was actually legal to do it, to be honest. But I mean, you don't think about that at the time.
No, you don't do it.
That's the beauty of it, I think.
The innocence of it.
Yeah.
I'm just helping someone. Yeah.
And very quickly after that, so and we couldn't believe it. So it was about 40 people rocked up, and I was just like, wow. And I didn't realize that I remember walking home up William Street on the way home after the first ever service, and just going, wow, this is like something that people really need. Yeah. And I couldn't believe it. Like,
didn't you tell me that one of them drove how many buses to get there? And
that was the first person, Godfrey. He travelled about 30 or 40 k's on a bus to come and get a haircut, and that was another moment where it was like, right, okay, like this is something that people are going to want and need, and very quickly after that, ABC Radio National story, which was pretty big. I remember just my phone just buzzing on the table. It was just like all the service providers of Perth were like, we need this service. This doesn't, we've never seen this before.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
And did you shit yourself at that point, or was it excitement?
Oh, look.
Because I reckon I would be, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
What do I do now? Like.
Oh, and I think that was one of the major moments of like, no, I didn't shit myself.
Yeah, sorry, that was a bit crude, but
no, that's all right.
Gets the point across. Like that. My natural reaction, I reckon, because I think people wish for success.
Yeah.
But if that success comes like that,
yeah.
There we go. Nice little click into my phone. Like, I think that could be extremely overwhelming, and you might, freeze and go, how am I going to pull this off?
I think I always wanted this to. My idea at the very beginning was like every hairdresser and barber in Australia is going to be involved in this, and that was that was the goal.
Yep.
How beautiful.
Every person that can cut hair in Australia should be doing this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was the lighthouse, or whatever you want to call it, and and I guess it's the scary part was that as someone who had literally one connection to the hair industry at that point, I was like, right, okay, I'm going to.
True. Didn't even think of that.
I'm going to have to go on a crusade,
Yeah.
And over the years, and it's only just coming to fruition, really, which I think is actually one of my most, I guess, proud achievements. And I don't really speak about it very often, but it's like, I always remember walking up past the, William Street and on the way home, and the only person that I knew was really Alex, and who cut my hair. Mm. And then now, we're about to announce like an ambassador partnership with a brand and a person in the hair industry called Kevin Murphy, and he's like a big deal, and I think. And there's also other brands that help us. So there's Evo, there's L'Oreal, there's Tony and Guy, there's there's lots and lots of people involved now. And look, it's taken so long to, it's like it just makes me feel tired. Like even talking about it, I'm like, oh my, I'm like, yeah. Oh, what's the movie? Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah.
And it's like Morgan Freeman.
That movie,
yeah. And at the beginning, he's all like trying to get out of prison, and and continually getting told no, and rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected. And then finally, when the moment comes, he's just like, you know what, Sonny, just stamp your card, and I'm going to get out of here because I don't give a shit.
Yeah. I remember that scene. I haven't seen that movie for a long time, but I remember. But yeah.
And then it's like accepted.
Yep.
And he's just like, and it's weird. It's like the moment that you're just like, God, I've just put everything into this. And then when it finally comes through, you're just kind of like, oh, it's more like it's not even like a celebration. It's like you're
relief.
just, relief.
Yeah.
To go, oh right, okay, we've finally connected with this industry.
Amazing.
You know, and I think that's the next part. And you know, whether or not I'm there for it is another story. But, you know, that's maybe for the chief executive officer and for the operations team and for the partnership teams that's maybe their legacy.
Let's touch on that, because one of the things I wanted people to get out of this episode is if you want to make a difference, you can.
But
You just need to start.
Yeah,
Okay.
what I was going to say, because that's what I think that this story is, that you just started with that one idea, with that one hairdresser, with that one person, and you weren't thinking at that point about the big brand stuff that could support you and getting other people involved. And I think that probably stopped you from feeling overwhelmed.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I couldn't agree more, because I didn't know what a not-for-profit was. I didn't know what governance was. I didn't know what a board was. I didn't know what strategy was. I didn't know what operations were.
You didn't know if it was legal to do it in the car park.
And what's a not-for-profit? You know?
So how did you... Yeah, this is what I want to get to. How because full-time work, you're working full-time.
Yeah.
In an unrelated industry.
Yeah. How do you do those baby steps? Like how when you look back now, how many years has it been?
11 years.
11 years. Which I was thinking about this saying the other day, where people overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 5 years.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you could probably attest to now, having gone through this 11-year journey. But take us back. Like, how do you baby step it to... and how, like, from a mental point of view, like, how do you go, right, like, what's the first thing I need to do, and who are the people I need to talk to? And
were you on your own with it? Or was Alex helping you? Was your partner helping you?
No, it was pretty much just myself.
Because even that's really amazing.
Yeah.
Like having that individual drive, you know, to want to make the difference and do all that extra stuff.
The answer to that for me is surround yourself with people that know more about something than what you do.
Yeah.
But alongside that, also don't have an ego about knowing everything, because accept the fact that you don't know everything. And, you know, I never went out there to be a founder, and that was not part of it. Like, it was, you know, I learned all that after, but it was like using social capital in the very beginning. I remember I had a conversation at Government House with Kim Beazley, the former governor, and I remember he sat there in this big chair and he was like, social capital. And, you know, and I was like, yeah, I guess so. You know, and he's like, that's what you use. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And that's what it is. And the reason, what I mean by that as well, it's like, it was like, okay, right, who do I know that's a lawyer? And then I texted my mate Simon and I said, Simon, I've been told that this is something that we should set up as a not-for-profit. Do you know anyone that can help us? And he immediately goes, yep, I know this guy. And he'll do it for you pro bono, because he's he's a guy that has his own business, but he helps not-for-profits, you know.
And even that right there just shows you people along the way can do their little bit. They don't have to be the one that had the idea or whatever, but if they can just jump in with their skill set, it makes a difference.
The next thing was like, you know, for that was a journey in itself. You know, setting it up as a not-for-profit. It worked actually really well in our favor, or my favor. I always say ours and I always say we, but like, it's because I did radio, and we've been told that radio 101 is you don't say I.
Really?
Yeah, so
I need to learn that, because I say I all the time.
we were told it alienates the listener to say I, so it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so if you're listening in on a, you know,
you feel part of it.
Yeah, you feel.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that thing was finding out. And what worked out well was that it was one idea, and it wasn't like three people's idea. So what we had to do is basically all that involved was like 3 directors of the company, which when you start a not-for-profit, I think it needs a minimum of 3 directors.
Yeah.
And then it was almost like, are the other directors going to basically attest to the fact that this was your idea? And I was like, yeah, I mean, and they were like, yeah, of course. So, you know, we signed and it was 3. That was at the beginning. which that allowed us to start a not-for-profit very easily. Whereas if it was like a different format of not-for-profit, it would have been a lot more complex, and so it was pretty much easy to set up. But the next thing was like forming a board, and then like it was I knew my friend Declan, who was a chair of, or deputy chair of Amnesty International, or it was something along the lines of that, and I kind of said to him, look, I said, this is what I'm starting. I said, would you be the chair of the board, and try and steer it in the right direction? And he was like, yeah, no worries at all. I'll do it. So he was the first chair, but it was like putting those real important building blocks in place.
Did it feel weird that there was a board and everything, but it was still just you?
Well, yeah, that was, that was another moment of it that was like, get people involved that really know what they're doing. And I always remember going along to the lawyers actually who set up the not-for-profit, and I was sitting in this really nice office in St George's Terrace, and I remember there was two of them sitting there, and they were like, "What's your business plan, Mr. Hollywood?" And I was like, "Right, I've been thinking about this." And then went into this like 10-minute rant of like what I thought was the business plan.
Yep.
And they both just sort of looked at each other, and then both looked back at me, and they were like, at the exact same time, "What is your business plan, Mr. Hollywood?"
Oh no.
And I was just like, "Yeah, I stuffed that up." Didn't I?" and they were like, "How many other people are involved in this?" And I was like, "One." And they were like, "Who's that?" And I was like, it's just me." And they were just like, "All right, okay, you need some help."
Wow.
and then people just started getting on board, and Declan found a really amazing treasurer, another mate of ours, and then like a secretary, and we just started just going from there.
Just because again I think it relates to the listeners, did you feel imposter syndrome at that point when you're sitting there with those two guys? Or because I think a lot of the thing that will hold people back from doing something is the fear of that exact thing happening to them.
Yeah.
Like what did you feel at that point, and how did you decide to keep going?
I think for me it's all about getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh yeah.
And being able to, and look, I'm not saying that I think that everyone should be like that, because I think my work situation, like my engineering background, is probably kicked in as well. Like, because it's like, okay, I'd been in some situations in work over the last 20 odd years that, Jesus, like we've got a problem here. And it's like, I can even just saying, I just got like goosebumps feeling it, because it's just like, you're like, wow, like this is a big deal. Like, and I guess you can get used to it.
Yeah.
I also remember one time, which you'll probably resonate with, I was DJing in a club in Perth, and it was the Ambar, and I remember it was, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this actually, and it was like, I was like supporting a guy called Marcel Detman, who was like a real kind of big deal in kind of Germany as a DJ, and like real serious stuff, and I was fortunate enough to be supporting him. So I'll never forget it. Like, I walked up onto the DJ booth, and like the place was like packed. It was like 3 a.m. He was just finishing, so I was playing after him.
Oh, you're after him.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So the peak of the crowd.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I remember, and I'll never forget, like I was all like, I wasn't confident. I was quietly, nervous. And got up into the DJ booth, and he's standing there with a cigarette, and like there was like 2 bottles of champagne, and he's like this cool big model German guy, And I looked over, and I looked at the mixer, and it was like it was like an Allen and Heath Zone 92 mixer, which I had never seen before.
Oh no!
And I looked at the time on the CDJ or whatever, and it was like 1 minute 32, and he looked he looked around at me, and he was like, "You good?" And and it was like an out of body experience.
That'd be like a fever dream for me.
I was like, and I remember just talking to myself in my head, and because like literally like the whole of Perth's like kind of like chin stroker techno crowd is standing looking at you.
Yeah.
Probably going like, you bastard, like you've got to support this big DJ, so you better bloody
not mess it up.
Yeah, you know, like because everyone will know about it. And I just remember going like, and I had to just think on my feet, because it was like I walked over to the mixer and like the cue buttons to listen on the headphones were like completely different to what I'd known. And I'm like, you'd press one cue and then it would make that like the other deck, like it stopped the sound of it, and then it was like, and I just remember just going, oh no, like
you have to learn this all in like 5 seconds.
Yeah, and I remember like I don't know what happened, but I managed to figure it out. I was like, if you press both of the buttons at the same time, then you can hear both.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then I was like, oh, like I think I'm okay.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, and I managed to be all right. And
how was your first mix?
It was good. But I just remember I'll always go back to that moment of being like, if I can, again, that might not sound like that bad, right?
No,
like,
I can hear.
But that was
awful.
That was bad.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, but I always go back to that. If I can get through that.
Yeah.
If I could get through that moment, I can get through anything.
I think that's an amazing piece of advice.
But I also think one of the things that strikes me about you is you've got that openness. And so I think you sitting there and not being the expert and being like, oh, this is all I've got and it's just me, and you being vulnerable in that way, I think that would make people want to help you. And I think that's probably why you're so successful, because of your demeanour.
Oh, thanks. Like, I really appreciate that. And I think that's just life. And for me, and you know, not acting like you know everything, because because you don't. And I think like my dad, actually, like when I was a kid, I think it was, I don't know if this is great parenting advice, but but thanks, Dad. But it was, you know, it was like, you know, there's always going to be someone smarter than you.
Yeah.
There's always going to be someone tougher than you. There's always going to always someone better at football.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
And not that it was like that harsh, but it was probably was. It was like, so don't think that you're the best at anything, because you're not.
Yeah.
You're always going to come up against someone that's better or stronger, or and
it's humble or humility.
And you don't need to be the best at everything.
No.
Like you can just be okay as you are.
And that's it. Yeah, and look, and that's really been reflective of the whole journey of Short Back and Sidewalks. And some of the, you know, we've had thousands of volunteers over the years, like so many amazingly talented people that are not just hairdressers and not just barbers. It's just this community across Australia.
Yeah.
There's passion behind it.
Oh yeah, and it's so good. Like, and everyone can see how their contribution works, and I think the beauty of the charity itself is the fact that they can actually see what their contribution is, and I think that's really important for people to be able to see what they're actually doing.
Do you know, one of my favourite things in my work is when I see transformation right before my eyes. So whether that's, you know, in an hour session, you know, in a counselling room, or on our retreats, I just love that shift that I get to see. And so I can imagine for the people doing the services to watch that person's face as they start feeling good about themselves and start feeling, you know, proud of themselves as they're getting that haircut. I think that would be magic for the hairdressers to watch that and be part of that. And then obviously they're talking to them and connecting to them and getting their story.
Yeah, I think hairdressers and barbers as well, like sometimes maybe just don't get appreciated for the work that they do and for, you know, for the mental health benefits that they provide. You know?
I have a friend that's a really, really good friend who's my hairdresser, and she always tells me stories about, you know, people confiding in her and stuff. And she's a vault. She is so good that she would just keep it all, and they know that. And I think it's also because you're not sitting across from someone, like there's not that eyeballing kind of thing, so they feel safe to just chat while someone's, you know, fussing over their hair and not making that.
And absolutely, and it's just to go back to what you kind of said before about the people that just want to jump on board. I mean, like. At the way where Short Back and Sidewalks is now, which I find like equal parts hilarious, but equal parts like that makes me feel really, really proud, is that you know, our chair of the board now is like the former commissioner for mental health. He's the former under treasurer of WA.
Yeah.
You know, we've got like the CEO of Food Bank. The mayor of Vincent.
Oh my goodness, these are really
good
connections.
I
think I know the CEO of Food Bank. She worked at Hawaiian, didn't she?
Kate O'Hara.
She's amazing.
She's
such
a
a
legend.
character.
You want to get her on your podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, she's a legend. She'll tell you a good story, man.
Yeah. She's really warm and engaging person.
Yeah, nah. So that's it. Like, and I always sit back and go, like, if these people are gonna do this, like, then, you know, and it gives you that drive, and it gives you that energy. Yeah. And that's another thing as well, which get used to being rejected, because you're gonna hear no, like, 1,000 times more than you're gonna hear yes. But that's what I kind of tried to navigate it from the perspective of, use the energy of the yeses to then go to the next yes, you know, but don't let the no's get you down.
So how do you do that? Because I think that's amazing advice. And what resilience have you built up in yourself to be able to hear all of those no's? Or what's your self-talk when you're getting those no's? Because I think that's another thing that will hold people back from, and not just, you know, starting a charity or whatever, just in life in general.
Or like going for another job. Or, yeah. Oh, look, I just look at it from the perspective of, we're not here for that long. You know, might as well give it a crack.
Yeah.
And then it's better to have given it a crack than not, and then made an arse of yourself. And then you're just like, oh well, bugger. At least I gave it a go.
Do you think it's easier because you're pushing for someone else? Like, really, you're pushing and putting your energy because you want to help people.
Yeah.
This isn't because it's just, you know, for you to get your house built, or you to get, you know, something that's a very personal goal. This is you really wanting to make a difference. So I think that would make you push forward against those no's a bit easier.
Yeah, and I think that actually, probably looking at it from that perspective, I think that actually helps with the people who want to help as well, because they know that you're not doing it for a monetary gain, or you're not, you know, you're kind of,
you're coming from your heart.
Yeah. So, but yeah, look.
Well, I resonate with what you said. The way I look at things, like, you know, I had a pretty successful career. I was, you know, doing things, and then all of a sudden we've decided to do this, right?
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Gotta dream it.
but kind of what you said, like, life's not that long, and I kind of view it, or you know, when I'm stressing out, because I get stressed and anxious, and, you know, are we doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I letting the family down? Like, all of these things. I quite often go, well, treat life like a game. Like, because I feel like life kind of is a game, and I want to finish that game having the least amount of regrets as possible.
Yeah.
So that, you know, you don't go, oh, I wish I had started that not-for-profit, or I wish I had done that podcast that could have changed people's lives and run retreats and do all these things. But instead I played small and worked in my job for 40 years. And then
had Groundhog Day.
And then I had, you know, 5 years of retirement, and then, you know, my health declined, or whatever it is, you know, like, I think life is a game. Well, this is my advice to listeners. Treat life like a game, and then play that accordingly.
And break it down. Break it down small so you don't get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm trying to think of what I was going to say there.
I have a bad habit of interrupting people.
No. You're dead right. And it's, getting the, and like, what I always find fascinating as well is that, like, you're always currently, in my opinion, like, you're probably currently at your best, right? So, like, this podcast, like, this is a great setup, right? And this is the best it can be, right?
Or the best it's been. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, the best it's been.
Yes.
So it's in that snapshot of time.
Yes.
You're always kind of the best of, you know. But you'll probably look back in 2 years' time and go, oh my God, look at this man.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that about
we do
my
that
retreats.
already.
Yeah, my first retreat, I look at the workbook and I'm like, oh, I would never show that now.
And I don't get that, you know, like, because I'm the same with like, you know, short back and sidewalks, and I'll look at things that we used to do and I'll be like, oh God. Yeah. But like, I mean, I'm going to say it. It's not a big deal, but it is what it is. And I'm sure everyone from a not-for-profit has been in this perspective. But, you know, about 5 years ago, we were all sitting around in a boardroom, and the treasurer was like, we're fucked.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and it was like, we don't have enough money to pay our insurance.
Wow.
And we all kind of sat there and went like, whoa, yeah, right. And and that was like we were at the best at that
the
point.
best you've been.
You know,
Yeah.
and you know, and then I mean, some of the board members now probably shriek when they hear that, but it's like it's all about looking back, I think, and going like, look how far you've kind of come, and
And then you've worked your way through that.
Exactly.
That didn't end it for you. Like,
No.
You've obviously figured something out where you've worked through it.
That was it, and that was in 2022, and I've spoke about this so many times, and there was the game changer moment, and that was the meeting with the Prime Minister at the time, and Scott Morrison.
How did that come about?
That was through the Australian of the Year Award, so and we all went to have dinner at the lodge, and it was a big deal. Like, to be fair,
It's a really big deal.
and
Gosh.
yeah, and all the Australians of the Year, and I think, like, even though I didn't plan for this to happen, there was a conversation with the Prime Minister in his garden whilst we were kind of surrounded by all these other people, and we literally didn't talk about anything that I did. It was like we spoke about his dog, and we spoke about dogs.
Yeah.
And I remember my partner, Jo, she turned around and goes, Craig, they've got a dog. And then we were playing with the dog, and that was it. And like, I remember, like, Jenny, his wife, and we were playing around with this bloody dog and whatever else. And Buddy, his name was, and it was a schnoodle. I always remember that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I think it was like that kind of connection on like a human level, which was the most important thing. And we were surrounded by all this chaos, and all we were really wanting to talk about was our dogs.
Yeah.
Gee, I love that, because I think people as well, they always, what do you do, and everything, their identity is around what work you do.
And the business stuff, that comes later. And I truly believe that, and I take that into everything that I do in regards to work and speaking to clients, and and it's like, it's really important to connect on a human, personal level.
I 1000% agree.
That's what I was saying in the intro. You make people feel special.
Yeah.
Like, when we met, you made me feel, because I could do video jobs, right, where the person can be like, not an asshole, but kind of like, he's just the guy
Not
running.
bothered with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You just do your thing, but you made a real effort to connect with me, and I felt that. And I think that made for a much better end product as well.
Oh, look, I mean, but like, that's the thing though. Like, you're very good at what you do, and and I knew that from the beginning. I watched the movie that you did with Shill, and I knew that, like, you were very good. You take it seriously. Your questions are brilliant. Like, you've obviously thought about it. So like, I think that's why I would resonate towards being like, no, like, this is really good. And I think you clearly think a lot about what you do. So I mean, like, yeah, I mean, that's my I guess compliments.
Keep talking. Say more. Say more.
How
Craig.
you didn't interrupt you then. Let you keep on rolling. Yeah.
But yeah, so then the game changer, that was like I got a letter through the door, about a week later, and it was like from the Prime Minister, his office, and it was like, to the dog guy. To the dog guy, yeah.
God.
Craig Hollywood, the dog guy. Here's 500 grand for your charity.
Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That just goes to show, doesn't it?
So you
That's
didn't
amazing.
expect that?
Nah.
Oh my God. That would be like, start the car.
Yeah, oh no, and that was it. I was like, oh god, and like, I remember a few people texted me, and what I found so good about it was like, we managed to get like bipartisan pre-election agreements from both major Australian parties, which was that was a bloody challenge. But anyway, thanks to the Labour Party for coming to the table, because I think that's, again, one of my other proudest moments, is to turn around and go, right, okay, both of these parties are like, okay, we're in.
Yeah, it didn't matter about the political side of it. It was just a good cause.
Nah, and I remember, so and then it was like on the news, and it was like, Perth charity that cuts people's hair is like the benefactor of a federal grant, and it was like, which I found hilarious and amazing, was like the weird and wacky world of the federal government grants or whatever, and we were at like the wacky end of the and it was and it was like it was amazing. But yeah, so that was the game changer. That kind of gave us another opportunity. That was obviously a very big yes. So it was like, all right, let's ride the wave of that. And and obviously since then it's kind of went into another space as well. Yeah. But it's like that was a real big kickstart from a couple of years before then, sitting around looking at each other, going like,
"How are you paying the insurance?"
That's phenomenal.
And so, is it just WA?
Nah, so the federal support gave us the opportunity to expand to 10 major WA regions. Mm-hmm. So that was delivered, and then we also operate in Perth, Western Australia, New South Wales, Victoria, and South Australia.
That's incredible. Here you are, this person that just one day thought, "How can I help one person?"
Yeah.
And it's gone national.
No, it's amazing. Like, and it's. I'm not a person. I don't want to take the credit for it. I
you
mean,
have to.
But there's so many people involved that don't get to tell their story, and the people that have driven up and down from Christ knows where, to volunteer thousands of times, and I want their voices to be heard, because sometimes But look,
but you gave them an opportunity to do those things. Like they didn't have that idea or that knowing that was possible.
Yeah, I mean, like some of our volunteers as well. Like there was quite a funny moment one time when we were on the project, and one of our awesome volunteers.
That was a good name drop.
Yeah. one of our volunteers was like, and I knew that she wouldn't want to do it if I told her that it was the project. So I just said, "Oh look, there's a it's like a uni."
Really liked her. For anyone not in Australia, this is quite a big program
TV
here
show.
in Australia.
Prime time.
Prime time news kind of program.
Yeah, and I said there's like a uni. They're doing like a what was it? Like a uni prac unit or something like that. Assignment. Yeah. And then the next thing was that Jules was sitting there and I remember like her sitting, I was standing like just like about 3 meters away, just watching her, like, because I was just like, and it was all the setup, and they came along to a service, and and she was like, "What's this for again?" And one of the guys, like, who was like the camera person or whatever, was like, "Oh, it's the project," and she looked at me and she was like, Hollywood. Yeah. So it does give them, and Jules was on television talking about how being a volunteer for Short Back and Sidewalks has completely changed her life, and and her improved her own mental health, and I guess like that's the ripple effect of it all. It's probably, I think that's an amazing thing as well, is the fact that it's not just me. It's now just went, there's all these other things going on, and it's like, yeah.
So I think for people that actually do volunteer, they get the most beautiful feelings as well. Like people often say that when you do give back, you get a beautiful benefit too. So I think for all your volunteers, that might have said that they've changed their life, they would have opened their hearts, they would have had that beautiful feeling of knowing they're making a difference. Yeah,
well, look, I read this statistic. So Volunteering WA did a state of volunteering report. I think it was like maybe about a year ago or something. And I'm probably going to get the figures wrong, but it was like quite mind-blowing in regards to what volunteering, because they'd analysed the social and economic impact of volunteering in Western Australia. Mm-hmm. And it was like it brings like $63 billion worth of benefit to the state.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like it boggles your mind. Like it's
how does that even work? I'm trying to.
Well, you think about like all of the different areas of volunteering, whether it be at the kids' canteen or the sport ground, or and it's like. And it's huge. I mean, like if we were to basically just turn off volunteering altogether.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand. Yeah.
I used to work for Youth Focus, who was a not-for-profit, and we used to run these camps, and we had volunteers that would come out and be there as long as the staff are. And obviously I was a staff, so I was paid. But they would be out there for 2 nights with us, like a full weekend. They were spending time, away from their families and friends and lives and things, just to volunteer. Or even one time we had a family. They decided that instead of us having camp food, which was, pretty average. They decided to give us home cooked dinners, and they had the nonna and the mum and the dad and the daughter, and they all came as a family, and they cooked all the meals for a whole weekend. We just paid for all the food, and they just did all the labour. And the difference of having that beautiful home cooked meals that had that love into it, but they also got that appreciation of everyone telling them how beautiful the dinners were and the desserts were and things. But I think that was such a beautiful connection that they could talk to people as they're getting their meals. They felt appreciated. We really did appreciate it. Like, it's such a beautiful full circle, kind of thing to do.
Yeah, and I always think of the example of the Ronald McDonald's Children's Hospital and whatever, and these families that are coming from all around the state to obviously because they're there for a reason in regards to their children and being obviously not well, and there's volunteers in there cooking them dinner, and and it's like
I've made a video about those.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I worked for Novus Homes, and they sponsored a room.
Yeah.
And then what they would do once a year is bring their staff to cook in the kitchen. So they do a little tour, get to see the room that they sponsor, get to meet some of the people that they've been helping, and then they would cook them dinner. And the whole thing about volunteering, and I think you were going to say this, Tracy, is the mental health boost that you get yourself by giving back. And I'm guilty of, I've done volunteering. One of the best ones I did was through work when I worked at Dale Alcock Homes. There's a builder theme running through this. But we would go into the city in the morning and serve meals to people who are homeless.
Yeah, right.
And you'd also get to sit down and have a chat with them. And the buzz that you would get from, and I think part of it, which you were talking about at the beginning of the episode, is them feeling seen. So we were just chatting about whatever we were chatting about. It wasn't deep and meaningful, but I could see that they were enjoying the fact that I wasn't just here, there's your meal,
rushing the
see you later, let's have a chat. And the mental health benefits that I would get, because I think it comes back to gratefulness.
Yeah. You also came home after doing that, and you were rummaging through your wardrobe, and you were like, I'm going to bring this big jacket back because there was a person there that didn't have a thick jacket. Yeah. So you also thought of other ways to give back and to help beyond, what you were already doing. So I think it can make people so much more open-hearted, and they realise just how fortunate we are. And even what you were saying at the beginning, that guy had a business at the very beginning and he fell on hard times. I hear that all the time, like a couple of wrong decisions or a relationship that goes awry, and, someone's not been the best with their finances, and people can end up in the most awful circumstances that they never imagined themselves to be in. So having that kindness, that compassion, that open-heartedness, people feel human, people feel seen, they feel valued, and that's really what it's all about.
100%. Couldn't say it any better.
Yeah.
I had my microphone turned down because I was having a drink. How do you... Because I think the gratefulness angle is... an interesting one. Like, how have you found, has it changed your own life? Like, were you always this type of person, or have you found that the more you've given back, the more grateful you are for what you have? Because you'd see some pretty, I don't know what the right adjective is, but hard stories, people having some pretty hard times. Because I think one of the long-winded point, which I have a tendency to do, is people always want more. And I've said this, I don't know if I've said it on the show, but I've said it to you, Tracy. I might have said it on the show. We're in the top 1% in the world, right? Just a normal Australian person is going to be in the top 1% of the wealthiest people in the world. Now, obviously, there's the top 0.1 and 0.01, but we have so much. But there's this tendency in the modern society to just want more. We've got to have more. What's the next thing? What's the nicer car? What's the bigger house? And I think that people struggle with their mental health around that. I don't know what my question is, but it's something like...
I think I've got an answer.
Okay, good.
That's why we get along well.
You can read between the real.
I think my upbringing has got a lot to do with it.
Yes, Glasgow?
Yeah. That's absolutely and that is, even though I don't think that I didn't come from a family that didn't have love, and we were probably some of the better off people. I was surrounded by a lot of people that weren't, and a lot of situations where it was like, you know, like at a very young age, you were exposed to some stuff that you it gave you that kind of awareness of just how lucky you were, you know.
So to put this in perspective, Glasgow has it's a pretty tough town.
Yeah,
right? It's a hard place to grow up. There's a lot of lower income people struggling through.
It's a hard city
to make ends meet.
Yeah, lots of it's a tough city, tough people, hard workers, hard drinkers.
Yeah.
It's a really funny story, actually. I hope my partner doesn't mind me saying this one. But I was in Sydney and I was playing football, soccer, and I very, very foolishly, I went in for like a header, and it was like I just went in way too hard, and like cracked my head, and it was like it's like a huge scar in my head, and I had to get rushed straight to ER and whatever. Yeah. And because it was a big cut, like, you know, it was like I just felt this explosion, and it was like my head was just burst open, sort of thing, and it was like a big deep cut. Anyway, and I'd only been going out with her for, I can't remember, 6 months or something.
So early on.
Yeah. And she was the only person that I knew in Sydney, because I had to go over to Sydney for work, and you know, and I'm like, Joe, I'm getting driven to the hospital, and she was like, don't go to this one, and I was like, okay, and then I was like already there, and I was like at the one that she was like King's Cross or something, don't go near that, and I was like, that's where I am. Anyway, she's just like, oh God. So we were sitting we eventually got seen, and there was like, it was in Sydney at that moment, and there was like there'd been a gunfight or something like that in Western Sydney, and it was chaos in this hospital. Anyway, we eventually got seen at like 4 a.m. or whatever, and I remember the doctor who was like sewing my head up. He was obviously having a bit of a joke, because I was probably having a bit of a joke as well. And he looked around at Joe, and he was like, "So how long have you been together?" And Joe was like, "Oh yeah, you know, like 4 months or something like that." And he's like, "Oh, all right." And he's like, "Has Craig told you about where he's from?" And in my head, I'm just going like, God, like what is? Because I wasn't even looking. I was like looking over here, getting like my you know, I'm looking at the floor or whatever. And I was just in my head, I'm going, where is this guy going with this? Like, you know, and Joe was like, a little bit, you know. And he's like, all right. And he's like, has he told you much about Glasgow or and she was like, well, a little bit, I guess. Like, and he's like, has he told you how violent it is? And in my head, I'm just going like, dude, you are not helping me at all here. Like, you know, like where are you going?
Did he know this was a soccer injury and you weren't
part of a fight?
Yeah. No, I think, because I had all my football gear on. But the reason why he said that was because he said, look, this guy who you've known for 3 months is been from a place, he comes from a place where it's that violent that they have a global head injury and trauma scale named after it.
Yeah, I know this.
And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, because it's called the Glasgow Coma Scale.
Oh, I did not know that. I thought it was a Glasgow Kiss.
No, it's a GCS. So there's been that much data acquired in Glasgow from head injuries.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that they've been able to have a worldwide medical scale about it, sort of thing.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. I thought this whole thing was leading up to the punchline of the Glasgow Kiss, which is a headbutt.
No, there's that. But yeah, so to answer the question in a long-winded way.
Oh, beautiful.
Suits
the show perfectly.
It's a pretty rough place, and coming to Australia, I was just like, God, this is paradise, you know.
How old were you?
Well, I came here when I was younger. I can't remember. I was maybe at primary school, lived here for a short period of time, moved back to Glasgow, spent a lot of, you know, formative years, and then came back when I was maybe 21 or 22.
So your parents didn't like it here initially?
Well, no, we had to move back because this was a while ago, but my granddad passed away. My granny didn't want to leave my granddad in Glasgow because but we eventually convinced her to come back to Australia, and anyway, she eventually came back, but coming back here, and I think that awareness of just how shit a place can be, it kind of changes your perception of how bad, people, it's like in my head I'm just like, I can't believe how good this place is. Like it's like even just like the sun shining when you wake up. Is like,
there's your gratitude, Scott.
That's the point that I'm making is simple little things like, if you're from Glasgow, I don't know the numbers, but I would say it's in the 200s of days where there's no sun.
Yeah.
Probably.
What?
Like just
And
cloud,
it's
just grey and cloudy.
Oh, that sounds horrendous.
And
Scotland's weather is horrendous. I can't remember how far north Glasgow is, but I know that Glasgow does not have good weather.
Oh, gosh.
And
all vitamin D deficiency.
100%. And despite that, everyone still like goes out, and you'll see people when they'll be beautiful when they walk out of the house, and then they'll get to the pub or whatever, and they're just like look like they've just been like dragged under, like the ocean or something. But it's like, no, I'm all right, I'm okay.
Dragged through.
But
We're still going to go out. And,
renowned for their sense of humour.
well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, even in
that's what
Perth
gets
now,
you,
it's like like if it's cold or wet or something, the streets will be like
Empty.
quiet.
Yeah.
Back home, it's like snowing. There's people like having snowball fights,
Yeah.
and and it's or like it's raining, and no one cares.
Yeah.
Because it's just you just gotta. That's
gotta get on with it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. Like,
But it gives you that perspective, right? The yin and yang is probably not the right term, but the polar opposites almost. And I guess that's what you're getting when you're dealing with or engaging and chatting with people who have had hard times and are living on the street. And this is why I think the volunteering is such a good thing for your mental health, is because straight away you're going to have appreciation for the tiniest little things.
yeah.
We said this before, like it's through contrast. Like if your power goes off,
Yes.
you're so grateful when your power goes back on. You've now got that appreciation for things that you took for granted. Same with your water or any
Your
services.
internet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We had, when we first moved into this house, we had about 2 weeks of no internet.
Well, that's a really interesting one, because like there's lots of people, and I know that homelessness and poverty, there's a lot of stigma attached to it, and I think that's just something that like Short Back and Sidewalks as well. We want to try and be the vehicles to change that, But the if not the first thing that people who are experiencing homelessness ask for is where they can charge their phone.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of, and that kind of, when I speak to people about that, it kind of blows their mind a little bit, because like they have these preconceptions, and it's like these people are just like everyone else.
Yeah.
And is that because they want to communicate with people, or they want to know what's going on in the world?
Just life, right? I mean, it's like us when we go to, you go to an airport or something. You're like looking where can I charge my phone? Where's the, it's like,
Your phone's kind of your lifeline, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
Everything's
yeah.
on there.
Wouldn't
so
mind delving into some of what you just said. Was it preconception or preconceived ideas of?
Yeah.
What are some of those? Because I think that's probably the biggest thing I learned when I did that bit of volunteering. Is you have an idea of what someone who's experiencing homelessness is going to be, and then the reality is quite different. So what is some of the stigma that you've seen and that you'd like to kind of educate people around?
When people think about homelessness, I think the mind goes to that kind of old man with a shaggy beard
In the
and
movies
not
that you
wearing
see.
shoes
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
pushing a trolley full
Yeah.
of stuff. Homelessness and poverty is not that. A real kind of jarring example is the women who are experiencing homelessness, who are sleeping in the car with their children.
Yeah, that breaks my heart. They can't get accommodation, or they can't have enough money to pay for.
Absolutely. This guy told me a story recently. Who he's like this was maybe about a year ago, and he was studying he was a lecturer at UWA or something like that, and couldn't find a house and was sleeping outside in his car outside Spudshed somewhere, and because the reason why was that it's got 24-hour security, it's got a lighting which is in the car park.
Yeah.
It's 24 hours.
Yeah.
But the shocking thing that he said, it was like he'd had this image of like looking across the car park, and it was, you know, there was 20 or 30 other cars in the exact same position. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess like, yeah, that what homelessness is perceived to be, and you know, there is that stereotype and stigma of like, just get a job, just sort yourself out. And I think the mental health, like obviously coming back to that component of poverty or homelessness, is that, you know, if you don't have a mental health challenge, the minute that you start becoming homeless, you're going to have one pretty soon after. Do you know what I mean? So, but
because even just your self-esteem, your confidence, your self-worth, that would all just plummet.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big part of it for me in regards to the people that we see, and the moment where like they don't feel seen, and I think that's where we kind of try to come along, sort of thing.
Some of the videos I've seen of the transformations, or the look on people's faces, the confidence, the self-esteem that you're talking about, Tracy. Yeah, it's beautiful.
And then that's what you want them to take into an interview if they're going to go for a job, or, you know, take into, you know, their life and stuff. I like it when also I've heard the charities that they have business attire, and they donate those for people, you know, so again, they can walk into an interview feeling good, feeling confident. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's it. You know, you want to start when you feel good, and when you perceive yourself as looking good, you want to present more, and you know, it might mean going for a job interview, but it also may mean, like, you know, going to see a family member that you haven't spoken to, or, you know, just that confidence to do something,
or even lift your chin up, even just keep your head up because you're feeling more proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know, this is a crazy link, but I'm going to link always to animals. So in all my videos that
I actually had a feeling this is leading. I think it was when I mentioned they have some good videos about, you know, the transformation. I was like, Tracy's going to latch onto this, somehow shoehorn in an animal story.
This is the shoehorn. There's been a lot of shoehorning going on.
So I'm going to do it. So it's when I watch the animals that have been abandoned and things, and a lot of them have had, you know, matted fur and you know, really needing a groom, and you can see the dogs are really defeated and their heads down and things, or maybe they're really uncomfortable as well because of the matting in their fur. And so they've got the same thing. They've got volunteer groomers that go into these rescue centres or these places, and the dogs, after getting their groom, and of course everyone's fussing over them and saying how great they look, and the demeanour of the dog changes, and then of course that helps with the chances of them getting fostered or adopted as well. So again, the same sort of concept of, you know, giving them their dignity of feeling good. Yeah. See, it's a good shoehorn.
I think a nice place to end.
Sarah ignored it. Ignored it.
Well, how do I segue? How do I segue from these animal videos, which Tracy, just for context, I think we've mentioned in a previous show, Tracy would put a good couple of hours in a day of watching these videos on Instagram.
Look, it would be up to an hour.
Well, it is true. I mean, I as a dog owner of 2 Jack Russells, I can understand, and because my feed is flooded with animal stuff.
It would go badly as well, because my dog can have a bad groom and be ashamed, so it can also have an opposite effect.
My last question was going to be, and this might be a tough one, but I think Lenny, it's not going to be that bad a question. People who see someone experiencing homelessness on the street, you say they're walking through the city or even in the suburbs, don't know what to do. Like, do you have advice on, because it can be a tricky one, because they're not always going to have a sign asking for something. They might just be sitting there because that's where they've decided to spend the night. And I think there is I know this is a tough question to ask, but is there any advice you would give to people on what
could be helpful?
Or how to make them feel seen? Because a simple one would be, do I make eye contact or do I not make eye contact? Do I say good morning or do I not say good morning?
I think that's at a very simple level. I think, and I'm not gonna sit in front of anyone or sit in front of you and come out with some profound.
I don't think there is. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I think at a very base level as human beings, saying hi or asking someone how's their day.
Not avoiding that eye contact or putting your head down as you walk past.
And I know that sounds, pretty easy, and not everyone's going to want to do that, and that's totally fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we all look at life through different lenses, and I understand that I look at life through a 6'2" Glaswegian who's
handsome,
90 kilos or something, or 94 kilos.
Looks like he's in his early 30s. Yeah.
No. But and I know that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Because what one person says about that is completely different to the other person, and it goes into your confidence and if you've got your children around or your whatever. Like, I mean, so many different scenarios. The very, very base level is that if you felt the need that you wanted to ask someone how their day was, and you felt that it was something that you wanted to do, and you felt safe doing it, then that's a big thing.
Yeah.
And that's really that's poignant. And the other thing that I always kind of say as well is that step out of your comfort zone. Think about, if you did want to go and do a bit of volunteering, find out what's going on in your community. And
there's so many opportunities, isn't there? Like, it doesn't have to be that you're at the front line of doing something. It could be that you're the helper that's doing something in the background or sorting something out for, whatever it might be.
And I think that connection and that connectedness is really important. And some people might not realize the fact of what that may bring to them. And, they might have not even realized that they needed connection. And then the next thing you know, that they've stepped outside their comfort zone, and they've not sort of said, oh, I really should do that. And actually getting out there and just giving it a crack. And the next thing you know is like something's going to change. And
I've shot some videos for City of Joondalup in partnership with Volunteering WA, and I also did the Shire of Gin for Volunteering WA. And I think I made about 6 or 7 videos, and each video is just a little 2-minute story about someone who's volunteering. And I can honestly say that the impact that it has on the people who volunteer can be life-changing. I know that's a big statement, but it can really change your perspective on how you see the world.
Well, it makes them feel so good just giving back and being part of something.
Yeah. And it's all sorts of stuff, I did do some stuff on people experiencing homelessness, but I did one about the church and did one on food bank. Like, there's some amazing things.
Even events where they raise money. Like, I used to work for Youth Focus, which is a not-for-profit for teenagers at risk of suicide, self-harm and depression. And we had so many events raising money that we would have people volunteering for all sorts of things in different roles and capacities. So even if they didn't want to necessarily work with the young people, they had other opportunities to contribute, which was so lovely.
Yeah, we've been down to the Karakan sanctuary, the Black Cockatoo sanctuary, which is somewhere in the hills, and like learning about their volunteers and how we can improve the ecosystem for an endangered species.
I took Tracy to watch Black Cockatoo Crisis.
Oh, right.
At the outdoor cinema.
And we're obsessed with black cockatoos
now.
Now
we
spot them all the
cannot
time.
stop looking at black cockatoos, because you can tell. Even by the sound, they have a slightly different sound than the white one. And they're beautiful. So we learned all about it. The great documentary, Black Cockatoo Crisis, the same executive producer as my film.
Well, what we learned as well about that is that all that they need is water and native food. So it's like if you have native plants in your garden, which they highly recommend, and then you have a bird bath or some water in your back garden, then that's what... Because I think their networks have been disconnected because of obviously the way that houses have been built.
This is what I've heard.
Houses and mining. I think mining was another big one.
Because normally their tracks or their trails that, it gets dissected. And they showed us this graph up there at that Karakan, and it was like it showed you just all the... It's not something that is damaged for good, but we need to be bringing more water into our back gardens and our and more native plants.
So even ways to help like that. You can help nature.
Absolutely.
Yeah, simple stuff. Well, that seems like a pretty nice place to end it. This has been one of my favourites. Like, such a good chat. Yeah, you're very engaging, as I knew at the very beginning, and great stories. And yeah, I think people get a lot out of this episode.
Well, I want to ask a question to sort of wrap it up. If you were looking back at that Craig that was sitting in that barber chair, you know, having that conversation with Alex, is there anything you would want to say to that version of yourself?
I guess like I would probably look back and say that I was proud of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that, you know, you gave it a crack, and it helped some people.
You didn't know what you were getting into, but
no.
You did it.
And I think if the intention is there and the drive is there, then that's something that anyone can probably do. And that's, I'm not here to be asking people to go out and starting charities or whatever, but it's just, it can go for it. It goes for anything, you know.
Do you know what I think the very beginning bit was? You were just open-hearted. Because you thought, what can I do? And that was your open heart. If you didn't have that, you wouldn't have had that starting point.
And I think that's it.
Yeah. So I think that's what people need to do, is just open their heart to whatever it is that they could make a difference in, however that may look for them, and just take that first step.
Well, I feel we could keep chatting all day, but I think it's a Saturday. It's one of our first Saturday recording, so let's go and enjoy the weekend. But before we go, Craig, do you want to, if people want to help out,
want to get involved?
Yeah, and so obviously people who are in the hairdressing industry, where can they go? And then also maybe just, is it Volunteering WA? If people just want to volunteer, is that the best place?
Yeah, look, shortbackandsidewalks.com is the best place to go to. And if people are listening and they are wanting to get involved, there's so many different roles that can be sort of fulfilled. You don't just have to be a hairdresser or a barber, but if you are a hairdresser or a barber and you are interested, we operate from a very simplistic basis of, you know, 2 hours every couple of months. We understand that hairdressers and barbers are really busy people, so that's what we've factored in. So yeah, if you've got a couple of hours to give every couple of months, and you want to come down on a Monday, or we always try and do it on times where it works for the hairdressers and barbers.
Quieter for them.
Yeah.
That's
so yeah, and get in touch. You know, change people's lives, and you know, give a couple of hours. That's all we're really asking for. And if you have a skill set and you want to make positive connections with people, get in touch with us via the website or Instagram, and give it a crack.
Beautiful.
Love that.
I'll put the links in the description for the episode so people can find them.
Thank you.
Been amazing. Thank you so much, mate.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Congratulations on everything you've
your
achieved.
success.
It's phenomenal.
Making a huge difference in the world.
Yeah.
All that ripple effect of all those people you're helping, I think that's just what a positive impact.
Yeah, agreed.
Right back to you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. How good was he?
Oh, he was amazing.
So inspirational. When I first met him, I knew that, you know, pretty special guy. And I think today's episode surely will inspire people.
I mean, to go from just that idea, and I don't know why I thought he was a barber. Like, I just think it was an assumption that, someone that's starting something like that must have been linked to that industry. But to just come up with the idea of giving people that support and dignity, I think it's just beautiful.
Yeah. So hopefully people got something out of that. If you did, leave a comment. You can leave a comment on Spotify, or you can leave a comment on YouTube. And it helps us out. So while you're there, hit the like button or a 5-star review. That would be awesome. I'm not 100% sure when this episode is coming out. Would we have done the raw space? I think it might be close.
Yeah.
If we haven't done it, then it'll be very, very close to doing it. But I think it might be the day after.
Yeah. But we do have a retreat coming up in May. So if you'd like to join our Reconnect to Self retreat, you can join us there. We also have a Reconnect relationship retreat coming up in March.
Yep. So details on the website. So tracyquayle.com. Join the website. You can join the mailing list. While you're there.
We also have a new breathwork.
Yes.
We have Scott has just.
I should actually put links to that from the website. But if you go to either of our YouTube channels. So obviously this YouTube channel is tracyquayle.therapy, but we also have at DJ Scotty Q on YouTube, and that's where I've put the breath work that we created ourselves.
So volume 2 is the both of us talking through the breath and guiding you through that journey. It's 15 minutes with a little bit of a meditation at the end. So just a nice way to calm yourself down, before bed, or, at some point in your day if you're feeling a little bit stressed, to just wind everything down, but really gentle and easy, but a nice introduction to your breath.
And we've had really nice feedback about that.
Yeah, and your playlist is lovely.
Yep,
He's
thank
got
you.
Scott's DJ music that he likes to use. So, friend that likes house music, this is for you.
Exactly. Yep. And that was off the back of doing a beach session, which we will
We'll do another one in March.
Follow us on social media at tracyquayle.therapy, and we'll let you know when we're doing another beach breathwork.
Yeah, we had a great turnout this time, so I think people are desperate for it.
Yep. That was good. Good vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and seeing people making friends, which I know pleased you greatly.
Oh, yes. One person went for coffee with somebody that they'd met from the breathwork, so that always warms my heart. And even just being able to chat in the water at the end, I didn't want to get out, so I'm looking forward to the next one.
Beautiful. All right, so jump on the website, join the mailing list, follow us on social media, give us a 5-star review, leave a comment, etc., etc. Really appreciate everyone. Appreciate the support and the nice comments that you do give us.
Thanks.
Good job.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.